Enough is enough for South Africa to understand that it is about time to make a decision.
The conflict between Israel and Palestine. Some people have said this was a David and Goliath type of contest. As South Africa, we are always ready to do so.
What confronts us now is what do we do if there is no implementation?
We are being blamed for taking the matter to the very court that they set up. We didn't take this case to a kangaroo court. We went to the very court that they themselves set up in terms of the rules that they set up, and we should not be blamed for doing so.
The world is a very troubled place, and I don't want us to pretend.
The world is upside down.
Enough it is enough for South Africa to understand that this world is full of hypocrisy. Enough it is enough for South Africa to also understand that it is about time to get rid of this injustice world. Why setting an arrest warrant against Vladimir Putin and not with Netanyahu?
The State of Israel is accused of genocide at a time when it is fighting genocide. A terrorist organization carried out the worst crime against the Jewish people since the Holocaust, and now someone comes to defend it in the name of the Holocaust.
The charge of genocide is meritless.
Why supporting people of Ukraine, financing them, giving them all the necessary weapons in order for them to fight Russia, but not with people of Palestine? Why blaming others for their wrongdoing, yet you don't want to be blamed for what you are doing as something wrong? Do South Africa have to leave the UN International Criminal Court, the ICC, and the UA? Well, we'll find out about it in this video, because we have prepared for you 4 reasons that can motivate South Africa to leave these world big organizations and remain independent. But before that, let me welcome you all to Kulubas TV. Welcome back to another video. For those who are catching up, guys, please make sure that you hit this like button in your numbers. We'll really do appreciate, and feel free to drop your comment in the comment section. Tell us also what you think about this topic. Should South Africa have to leave these world organizations, the UN International Criminal Court, ICC, and the African Union? Well, we'll unpack everything for you, because you need to understand some of the reasons that are motivating South Africa to take this kind of decisions, and we'll show you that with the facts, so that you'll get to understand why South Africa will leave these organizations. We are living in the world of hypocrisy. We are living in a wicked world. We are living in the world of injustice, says Naledi Pandor, who's the foreign minister of South Africa, as she held a press conference telling the world of what has been happening and how people are pretending to be hypocrite. People are pretending to not see the truth of what is happening, the crime that has been taking place around the world. And some people seem to encouraging this kind of crime, so that at the end of the day, they'll end up making billions of money, so that at the end of the day, they'll end up increasing more percentage when it comes to the economy, while innocent people are dying, while innocent people are suffering, and their economy is being destroyed, and their country remain in a very serious disasters. Naledi Pandor had to tell the world of what is happening in Palestine, and this is something that she had tried to talk about it in different platforms, but yet she was not listened. And even when she seek for the help of other African countries, they were nowhere to be found. She could not get enough support from her fellow Africans, and this is how she exposed them.
I begin by saying the world is a very troubled place, and I don't want us to pretend that it is easy. It's not. We are faced with a very challenged world. I realized this when in 2021 I was sitting in a summit of the Executive Council of the African Union, and it was whispered to me that the African Union Commission chairperson had issued an invitation to Israel to become an observer at the African Union. Imagine my horror. I decided at that moment that I would raise my arm and would propose that this decision be rescinded. I walked around the room seeking supporters. Of the 54 nations, I got 3. and I include SADC in that. But I said, nevertheless, this is not going to happen. I therefore lifted my arm and said I wish to table a matter. I have learnt of this, and as South Africa, we object to it, and it must not be implemented. We want our leaders to discuss it. And we will never accept it as South Africa, and while we appreciate the role that the Organization of African Unity played in us achieving our freedom as South Africa, this decision of the AU Commission chairperson will make us consider whether we can be present in the African Union. I thought I would get support from many of the countries gathered in the room. But what I discovered is that countries that are oppressors, that continue to be colonial occupiers, are using financial muscle to provide grant and aid to African countries and secure the depoliticized support of African countries for these oppressive nations. Among them, Israel and Morocco. They're playing a very negative role in Africa. And comrades, I'm being frank here because you in this room, you are supposed to be trade union leaders, many of you, or you lead progressive organizations, and you are failing in your duty to convince governments in Africa and all other countries of the South that they cannot tolerate such situations. It can't be left to us as members of government to be the ones that take up these issues with no word from progressive organizations. This is intolerable and cannot continue. So I'm hoping out of this conference that you are going to decide, rise up, rise up, rise up. Don't say what's Comrade Naledi doing. That decision on Israel hasn't been implemented, and it won't be while I'm still there. But what are you going to do? You should be talking to all progressive unions worldwide. The unions in the United States of America, weak or strong, should be making it clear to President Biden they don't appreciate his statement, which has led to the slaughter we are seeing today. The union movement in the United Kingdom should be doing the same. If we know our work, I have no idea what has happened to our organizational capability. Because as South African leadership, our trade union movement was able to marshal under the worst oppressive chains. We were able to marshal international solidarity of a kind that has not been seen since the struggle against apartheid. Where have all these progressive leaders gone and why? Why are we not able to organize? Why are we only sitting in a room as 300? There should be 3,000 here. There's something wrong, and that's why I'm saying we're in a troubled world. And we need to recognize that the world has shifted. Because what has happened is, in a determined fashion, progressive values and principles have been hacked and hacked and hacked, and it is now difficult to find a voice of the left. And we need to revive. We need to organize. We need to be smart. We need to be strategic. And one thing I've realized is making good speeches does not assist. I may feel good that I had the right rhetoric at that platform, but if the next day my rhetoric has not led to action, my speech was useless. So I hope out of this, NUMSA is going to lead a process where Comrade Irvin Jim and Comrade Chirwa will meet with their counterparts in all unions, whatever they are, and say, as South African trade union movement, Let us lead. Let us lead. Let us agree for 1 month. None of our unions are going to lift any Israeli goods out of any transport. Just one thing. And let us see whether our leadership has convening power or not. This week coming, a number of proposed resolutions are going to come before the United Nations. We must keep our eye on that process. We must ensure it's the right kind of resolutions. Today, the people of Palestine are in need of help. They need medical supplies. They are unable to bandage wounds. They cannot provide help. Médecins Sans Frontières is doing a good job. They're absolutely there, but they are also being decimated. What are we going to do about that? Let's ask every South African, there are 62 million of us, they say. All of us must donate one thing: food or medical goods.
This is Naledi Pandor, the foreign minister of the Republic of South Africa, the woman that I personally do love her so much, and the day she'll run for the president, I'll make sure that I vote her myself, because this woman, she's not just intelligent, but this woman, she's showing or representing the proud of African women, especially in this wicked world where we are having some leaders who are seeing crime being committed and they're pretending they choose who to blame and who not to blame. And this woman, she have the courage to come out there and reveal all these secrets. Guys, here comes the reason number one why we believe that South Africa will have to leave the International Criminal Court, ICC, followed by the UA, because of this kind of behaviors. When you listen to Naledi Pandor in this short video that I play for you, you will understand that she make a very big effort to talk to other African leaders or African representatives who were gathered in different places, whether it is in the UN, whether it is in the UA, all these places, trying to campaign and telling them that, no guys, there's something that is going on and we need to do something to defend people or anyone around the world against the oppressors, against the West country. She went and begged these people, but they could not listen to him. Some of them, they even pretend, because I watched one of her interviews, she even got deeper, saying that some of them, they pretend to promise her that we're gonna vote in behalf of what South Africa is standing for. And when comes the time of the vote, all these people were busy promising her that they will vote for in behalf of South Africa decision. They were nowhere to be found. And you heard herself saying that she only ended up having 3 countries, 3 representatives of 3 African countries who supported her. What about the rest of the African unions? This is another thing which shows that Africa was still divided. This is another thing which expose on how Africa is still at the slavery of the oppressors. Because listening to Naledi Pandor, she even said that she noticed that most of these African countries, they are at the service of the open masters. These oppressors, these Western countries, they are coming in Africa, giving them some loans, giving them some power, keeping them in government, making them dictators, so that they're still gonna have their vote whenever they need it. Because it does not make sense that we all know what is happening in Gaza, which I will talk in a short period, but we all know what is happening and we know who's wrong and who's not wrong. But when it comes to the vote, which is supposed to show how unity Africans we are, in order for us to stand against this genocide that is taking place in Palestine, then the next things we are having people who are still supporting Israel. And you ask yourself, what kind of relationship does they have with Israel? There's no way that you find them or they can come forward and show you that, no, we've been having good friendship with Israel on 1, 2, 3, 4. Why? Because these people, they've been receiving some ads, some donation from the open IMAS system. We're talking about US donation. We're talking about Europe donations, France, British. They come and give, they corrupt them with money. And now, because whenever these people, they come and they give you a donation, the next things will be telling you or to reminding you, saying that, no, look, we have our good relationship which need to be respected. So whenever you are put in front of a decision where you need to take a decision, whether you are siding with these people or you don't side with them, these countries with their representative, with their leaders, they prefer to remain neutral if they see that this is more obvious that I can't support, or either they will have to side with the US or these other NATO countries. And that is how Africans, they end up finding themselves in this position, because we are being controlled. Yes, most of African leaders are being controlled. Besides what Naledi Pandor said, I recently watched the former public protector, Busisiwe Mkhwebane. She also said the same thing, that whatsoever we're seeing in Africa, it is because most of African leaders, they are still puppets.
Yes. The failure of the African Union, because, they are failing to do that, but even the countries in Africa should be making sure that they put Africa and Africa's agenda as a priority. And we had the African Union Agenda 2063 when Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma was still there. And one of their key focus, or one of their aspirations, was that we need to have an Africa which is gun-free, no war, no killings. And that they were supposed to achieve by 2020, but they failed. That is still happening. But I think the issue of Congo and other African countries which are rich in mineral resources, I think we know that the West is creating this instability so that they can continuously loot their mineral resources. So it's basically that. And you would find that we have a situation in Africa where we are still not yet putting Africa first and making sure that we make our resources to work for us. And by that, we will be able to even sustain ourselves, not even depend on any other country. But unfortunately, then we have a lot of leaders in Africa who are unfortunately puppets to the West, and who are controlled and who are placed by the West to lead those countries.
Would you say our president is one of them?
Hey, Mr. McG.
So it is true, guys. Most of African leaders, they're still puppets. They're still at the service of the Western power, regardless of how many times we are shouting here and try to remind them or to waken them up. They do listen. They know what is good to do. But yet they're choosing not to do it because they're at the service of the open eye master systems. They prefer to believe or trust their masters who put them in that positions. And that is the reason why you see a lot of conflict in Africa does not finish, because they know already that the day this conflict will finish, or the day this war will finish in Africa, then they will lose control of Africans. And that is something that we need to fight day and night to make sure that we waken up our leaders so that they can start thinking in a different way, like the way South Africa, they are thinking with their leadership. We can say whatever we want to say about President Ramaphosa or Naledi Pandor, but these people, they manage to prove to the world that South Africa, it is a sovereign country, and they stand by what they believe is right, and they condemn what they believe that is wrong. So guys, Naledi Pandor have to express the disappointment which he had to receive in African Union, where they're supposed to be having one voice, because whatsoever she raised over there in UA as a concern, it was something which was going to benefit Africans in one way or another way. For an example, if Naledi Pandor with South Africa, they decided to say that no, let us vote in favor of Palestine, in favor of supporting people of Gaza. Well, and it happened that all the African leaders or all the African representatives who were seated there, they managed to vote in favor of people of Palestine. Do you know what kind of message they were gonna send to the Western countries? Obviously, they were gonna tell the Western country that no, look, we are not puppets to you as you guys think like. Because what you are doing over there is not something that us we like. Therefore, we are not gonna stand for this. And it was gonna show these Western countries a lesson for them to start respecting African country and believing that African country that they are becoming even more independent. They can take their own decisions which can influence the world economy and world activities. But unfortunately, because these people they've been receiving funds which come from the US, which come from France, which come from this and that, HIV AIDS or Corona AIDS, whatsoever they could it be, these people they could not be able to make the choice. And these are the reason that can make South Africa to leave AU, because they could see that their fellow brothers and sisters who are seated over there, instead of them doing what is right by putting their power together and become as a bloc against the Western country, they end up understanding that among them, there are even countries which are corrupt. There are countries which are doing a very bad service to the African Union. And Naledi Pandor could not even hide a language. She spoke out and mentioned this country. She mentioned countries such as Morocco and Israel. These countries, they are not good at all. They are bad countries because they don't even want to respect the right of other nations out there. So that was the reason that can make South Africa leave Africa Union, because there's no need for us to be sitting here if you guys can't support me when I'm coming with some ideas which can help us and make us become even more free or independent from our former colonials. But when it comes that you are coming with the idea and other people are sabotaging you, then that is another reason that, of course, South Africa government, they do not want to tolerate. Reason number 2, guys, before I go deep in this, I just want to give you a very simple example. We saw when Vladimir Putin with Russia, they invade Ukraine. And remember, before even they get to invade Ukraine, because that is another long story that we don't have all the time to relate here, but you must know the reasons that make Vladimir Putin to invade Ukraine. They did so because they were threatened by NATO nations, and therefore they feel that they have to go and protect themselves, protect their borders. And the easiest country they could have, because these people, they will have go and attack maybe Poland and other nations which are neighboring with Russia, but they did not do that because they noticed there is place where NATO was planning to come and attack Russia. That was Ukraine. So the moment when Ukraine they start signing papers just for signing, Vladimir Putin with his army, they were like, no, it is about time we make a move. Okay, fine. Whatever happened, there will also what happened. Now, when they start attacking Ukraine, we saw the US with NATO nations, they all came forward, putting all the support, giving Ukraine all everything that they need, because they had hope and believed that it's just a matter of time. Vladimir Putin with Russia, they will disappear in Ukraine, forgetting that Russia is considered as one of the biggest army in the world. Yes, they are very strong, and it was not going to be easy. No matter how many countries you are and you put your power together, it was not going to be easy to wipe off Russia just like that, because they were going to fight. And so far, they have not used all the weapons that we know Russia they are in possess of. So they went there, they did everything. They showed their solidarities to the people of Ukraine. We saw how they even opened their borders to welcome Ukrainian refugee, which they don't do with African nation, isn't it? They open their borders, they send the food, they make sure that the border is open, they can go and give the aid to the people of Ukraine and everything. Now, the same story in another version of it. It is happening right now between Israel and Palestine. But we see the same people who assume to say that no, we are here with Ukraine. Instead of them saying that we are here with Palestine, this time they choose to support the oppressor. We all know that Israel is the one who's been invading the land of Palestine. They've been there for many years. This is a big story that even many people, many leaders in the world, before they die, they spoke about it. They give their point of view. They condemn about this apartheid that Israel regime they've been putting on place.
We come to the United Nations, it's ceremonial. Every year, September, we are there. We pay lots of money to go there. And to the General Assembly, we make speeches, we go back home, year in, year out. But the bosses in the Security Council say, you shall never have the powers that we have as permanent members. And we have asked and asked and asked and asked and asked. Reform the Security Council. I want to tell you, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, you are a good man. You are a good man. But of course, we can't make you a fighter. That's not what your mission was. We will fight a fight for our own identity, for our own integrity and personality as Africans. We are Africans.
Now, instead of the US with their alliance going to support people of Palestine, this time they are deciding to go and support people of Israel who have all the full army. Since they made this move went on and destroyed the life of people in Palestine. And when they're doing all this, many countries, they are seeing it, they are looking at them, and they keep quiet about it. No one had the courage to tell them this, that no, what you guys are doing, it is injustice. What you guys are doing, it is wrong. Because when we look on the international charter, this does not comply. Why can't you do to people of Palestine as you did with people of Ukraine? What is the difference between people of Ukraine to the one of Palestine? This kind of injustice is what also motivates South Africa to not only take their move to go to the international ICC, but to also make South Africa realize that these so-called international communities, it is not that good platforms. It's not a good place you can rely on. And these are the reasons that will make South Africa to leave all these world organizations. I will tell you why. South Africa, as the first nation in the world, they had that courage to go and face United States of America, Israel, British, combined together. They had to go to the UN International Criminal Court to go and open a case of a genocide against Israel because of what they are doing over there in Palestine. But when they get there, this is a place where everyone, we were expecting to see some magic happening. But they could not have the courage to condemn or tell the world that, okay, what Israel is doing over there, it is a genocide. Instead, they beat around the bush. You know, I saw some of the ANC members, they will be celebrating when they give the final decision at the court, saying that they have won the case. No, dude, you have not won the case. These people that are trying to fool you. These people that are trying to disrespect South Africa once again, as they did during the time when African Union sent 7 leaders to go to Russia and Ukraine in order for them to negotiate so that peace can reign between these two nations. They are refusing to condemn what Israel is doing in Gaza for one reason. Because this so-called ICC, the International Criminal Court, it is under control of the US. The US, who are not even they're not doing part of it. They did not sign any signature over there. They are busy controlling this International Criminal Court, the ICC. I'll tell you why. Because if the ICC have to come and say that, yes, it is true, Israel is committing act of genocide in Palestine, that also, it will include the USA, it will include UK, because these are the two main countries who are supporting, founding Israel in order for them to go ahead and commit all those crimes they're committing over there in Palestine. So now remember, USA, British, these are the preachers of the so-called democracy. Every time, everything they do, they will tell you that no, we're here to protect our democracy. We're here to introduce democracy to the countries that don't have democracy. We are here to practice the human right. But yet, they're the biggest criminal that this world never had. I'm just giving you the fact. I said, these people, they condemn what is happening in Ukraine. They call Vladimir Putin all kind of names. They present him to the world as a monster who does not fear the life of human being. But yet, the same crime, even worse than that, it's happening right now in Palestine. They are not able to condemn it. You see how we live in this world. They are not able to condemn it. They don't even have the courage to condemn it. When South Africa, with their leadership, they decided to take them to court, the court that's supposed to be neutral, to tell them that, okay, no, look, put your gun down. If you don't do this, here are the kind of the sanctions will come. But just because the USA, they are behind all this, they could not have the courage to do it. And I'm so glad for the fact that President of South Africa, President Cyril Ramaphosa, had the courage to come again a day before yesterday and expose them when he said this.
We are being blamed for taking the matter to the very court that they set up. We didn't take this case to a kangaroo court. We went to the very court that they themselves set up in terms of the rules that they set up, and we should not be blamed for doing so. Our success has exposed not only the atrocities that have been carried out or being carried out by the state of Israel, it also has exposed the moral bankruptcy of those countries who by their acts of omission or commission are allowing genocide to take place in Gaza on their watch. And we say this humbly without pointing fingers.
Guys, this kind of courage is what each and every African leader or president should have. Yes. Because if you look at these people, when they want to threaten African leaders, when they want to threaten a leader somewhere in the world, they don't go and beat around the bush somewhere in the corner. They will tell you right in front of you. In their medias, they will use their TV, they will talk bad about you, they will try to decorate you to the kind of color that they want you to look like. If they want people to see you as a bad person, they will do that. They will use their medias. If they want people to see you as a good person, they will do that. Remember how they did with Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, when they want everyone to compatriot with him, everyone to show their solidarity with him. What did they do? They start first by shaking their hands with him, walking him in the red carpet, bringing him in their Congress, giving him a platform to give the speech. They give him that power, which Ukraine never had before. Not even one of Ukraine leaders have it before. Why? Because they want you to play in their favor, so they want to give you that, they want to make you look a good person. But when they want to make you a bad person, we all know what they have done to the world leaders. Do you still remember how they considered and treated Saddam Hussein?
All the decades of deceit and cruelty have now reached an end. Saddam Hussein and his sons must leave Iraq within 48 hours. Their refusal to do so will result in military conflict, commenced at a time of our choosing. At this hour, American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger.
They make him look like he was a monster who was about to eliminate his nation. Do you still remember how they treated Colonel Muammar Gaddafi in Libya? They make him look like he's a person who never wants his people to be at peace. They went on and poisoned the mind of Libyans, telling them that no, you guys need to get rid of Muammar Gaddafi because he's blocking your democracies.
Tonight, President Obama's goal was simple: to explain to a public skeptical about the war he's launched in Libya
what we've done, what we plan to do, and why this matters to us.
It has been 10 days since Mr. Obama ordered U.S. forces into combat in Libya. Nearly 200 Tomahawk cruise missiles launched, more than 1,600 airstrikes. And so the challenge for the president: justify this war and show Americans that the U.S. role really will be brief and limited.
The United States and the world faced a choice. Gaddafi declared he would show no mercy to his own people. He compared them to rats and threatened to go door to door to inflict punishment.
It was Muammar Gaddafi, Obama said, who was the main reason for war. He was about to launch a massacre of his own people.
It was not in our national interest to let that happen. I refused to let that happen.
And so the attack began. One question has hovered over this mission: how is it in the strategic interests of the United States to go to war in Libya? Robert Gates, Obama's own Secretary of Defense, complicated matters for his boss on ABC's This Week yesterday.
Do you think Libya posed an actual or imminent threat to the United States?
No, it was not. It was not a vital national interest to the United States, but it was an interest.
Tonight, President Obama sought to explain. He said that standing by while Gaddafi crushed the rebellion could destabilize neighboring Egypt and Tunisia and cast a shadow over the freedom movement sweeping the Arab world. But in the end, it is really a moral case the president is making for war.
Some nations may be able to turn a blind eye to atrocities in other countries. The United States of America is different. And as president, I refuse to wait for the images of slaughter and mass graves before taking action.
The action in Libya has turned the tide. Rebel forces have now retaken all the territory they had lost to Gaddafi's troops as Allied airstrikes have grounded the dictator's planes and paved the way towards Tripoli. But that may have been the easy part. Today, the rebel advance halted before the city of Sirte, Gaddafi's hometown, where his far better equipped forces have hunkered down. And that leads to another question for the president. Is helping the rebels get rid of Gaddafi the goal?
If we tried to overthrow Gaddafi by force, our coalition would splinter. The dangers faced by our men and women in uniform would be far greater. So would the costs and our share of the responsibility for what comes next.
Today, go and ask Libyans how or where is this so-called democracy they had promised them. So this is how they are. They like to decorate you and do whatsoever they want to do. And here I like for the fact that President Ramaphosa did not beat around the bush. He told them right there. He told them the truth that it's very pity. It's very pity to see people who are preaching democracy, people who are saying about the respect of human rights, yet they are closing their eyes when other crimes are being committed right in their presence. The crime that's supposed to be condemned with all the power. Instead, that's not the case with the US and the British. All we get to see is seeing them traveling each and every day to Jerusalem in Israel and go there and try to give their support, whether it's financially, whether it's military, whatsoever. And we all know why they want this war to continue. We all know why they are there over there in that Arabic regions. You guys, if you watch the news, you'll see what is happening between Iran, Yemen, and the US. There's something serious which is happening. And I'm not going to be surprised the day they'll declare a World War III taking place, because we can all see what is happening. Because on the other side, we are having North Korea, who's also preparing to attack South Korea. South Korea, which is a big alliance to the Americans. So you see already that the whole world, it is in mess. The world is in mess, and we need people such as President Ramaphosa, who had that kind of courage to come and expose them to the eyes of the world. That is a kind of the reason can make South Africa to leave the ICC. I mean the International Criminal Court because of this kind of things. If you listen very well to President of South Africa, he even said that we did not go to a kangaroo court or maybe somewhere funny. No, we went to the court which was designed or assigned by all the world. They agree. These people are the one who came up with these ideas that no, we should have a international criminal court where they will judge people who are doing this and that. And South Africa, they follow the procedure, and yet you are seeing the ICC fail to respect that. Now, the last reason that can motivate also South Africa to get rid of all this organization. Do you guys still remember when South Africa was asked, not even asked, imposed to arrest Vladimir Putin? South Africa is supposed to be holding the BRICS summit, and the next things they were like, no, actually, the place we can arrest Vladimir Putin is in South Africa because he will be attending this BRICS summit. According to the BRICS rules, each and every leader who's part of BRICS need to be there physically. Their presence, they need to be there. So they were busy already thinking that, okay, the BRICS rules will oblige Vladimir Putin to travel to South Africa. Therefore, we need to tell South Africa to arrest Vladimir Putin. You also, we make a couple of videos, we show you how they were busy putting pressure on South Africa, the ICC on the other side, reminding South Africa to respect what they had signed for. The US, who's not even the signer of this so-called ICC, they were busy putting pressures on South Africa, all these NATO countries. But South Africa refused, and they did not want to comment much about it. Thanks God, the man himself, Vladimir Putin, decided to not attend this BRICS summit. He then sent his foreign minister to come and represent him. Now, obviously, this so-called ICC, the International Criminal Court, they were expecting South Africa to arrest Vladimir Putin. They were expecting South Africa, with their leadership, to apply what are the rules of this UN ICC. Now that they failed, South Africa had options to leave this ICC. They were even discussing it about it. They were busy thinking on how they can attack the ICC and tell them that, no, look, we are leaving because, like it or not, if they fail to arrest Vladimir Putin today, in 4 or 5 years to come, as the BRICS summit usually rotates, there will be a certain moment whereby it will come again back to South Africa. If this arrest warrant is still against Vladimir Putin, South Africa will have to comply. And I remember even the Secretary General of the ANC, Fikile Mbalula, he also suggested, saying that, no, I think it's about time we quit or we let go of this so-called ICC because it's not benefiting us anyway. Because this so-called ICC, they just want to raise their eyes when it comes to the men that they don't want, the men that the Western countries they don't want to see, which is Vladimir Putin. But we know people who have committed serious crime in the world, they're still there. Yes. And these people, they have confessed for their crime. Yet this so-called International Criminal Court never even assigned any arrest warrant against them. We are talking about George Bush. Do you all still remember what he did in Afghanistan? The massacre that took place in Afghanistan? Do you guys still remember what he did in Iraq? By then, he telling people of Iraq that, no, we are here to protect you, we are here to protect your right, we're not going to harm you. But later on, you also what happened in that place in Iraq. And later on he was busy confessing, saying that, no, it was a mistake, I get some bad service from my secret service, they give me false information. After then, they already commit serious crime in Iraq. Besides that, do you still remember Tony LeBlay? If I'm not mistaken, the former minister of UK, British, He was also part of these people who went in and commit serious crime. But these people, they never even been called to the judge so that they can just hear them out. All these things, we are just following up the story. We are just following up on what they have said in their medias, in their social medias. And no one have arrested them. But when it comes to other countries, they feel like, okay, whatsoever is good for them, it should take place and it should just happen that way. Now, South Africa, they had to sacrifice the arriving of Vladimir Putin in South Africa. Regardless of the good friendship that South Africa have with Russia, they had to go and ask Vladimir Putin to not come in order for them to avoid this all pressures that they've been receiving from these all world organizations and the NATO countries. Now it was about time for them also to go to the same ICC to remind them on how they can do also their job. Because this so-called same ICC, they supposed normally to set an arrest warrant against the Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu. They're supposed to do that thing as much they did with Russia President Vladimir Putin. It was the same thing. That is why Naledi Pandor asked them saying, why an arrest warrant against Vladimir Putin and not with Netanyahu? What is so special about Netanyahu? Is it because he's a good friend to the Americans? Is it because Americans are using him in order for them to infiltrate in the Middle East? So these are the kind of capital questions which South Africa had to ask the ICC, and they failed to give him the right answer. Until now, Netanyahu is still a free man. He can travel to any country he wants to travel because there is no any arrest warrant. The man he committed serious crime more than even Vladimir Putin, if you have to put it in the way that they've been accusing Vladimir Putin. The men he have killed. He target civilians. He target women and children. He exposed them. He used all the chemical bombs, drone, and he killed them all in the name of what so-called a mass terrorist group. So, which means you will go, you find 100 people or 100 children seated somewhere, you kill all of them, and the reason you are giving, oh no, there were, we get the news that there was 2 Hamas among them. 2 Hamas, you as an army, can't you go and arrest all these 2 Hamas? Or take them away and go and kill them separately? Why do we have to go and kill so many innocent people? And all these crimes that are happening, the ICC is there. They're not saying anything. You see again the reason why South Africa will have to leave this so-called International Criminal Court. Because they are showing their injustice. They are not correct. They are not in the middle. They're actually taking side. The ICC actually, it has proven to the eyes of the world that it is at the service of the West. That is the reason why they never signed for it. You take France, you take British, you take America, they never signed for it because they know that they will continue. Not only they had committed crime, but they will continue committing even more crime around the world, and they don't want anyone to call them. Imagine, just imagine if you have to find out one day that no, the ICC have called for George Bush, or the ICC have set an arrest warrant against Tony Leble. Can you imagine what kind of scandal will that be? Because these people, they have committed serious crime that all of us we saw. Some of us, we were maybe still young, but we saw what happened. And they're still committing them right now. I gave you guys a very simple example. I said, the moment when Russia invaded Ukraine, we saw the United States of America under Joe Biden leadership. They stood up. They said that we are with Ukraine. When they asked them, what are your reasons? oh no, Ukraine is an independent country, is a sovereign country. They should do whatever they want to do. If they choose to if they choose to join NATO, let them be. Russia is no one to come and invade them. Okay, well, Russia is violating the human right. Russia is violating the international right. Therefore, we're gonna protect Ukraine. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do that. And they went on. They support Ukraine. They did everything they were doing because they had hope and believed that they are going to stop Russia in order for them to impose their leadership in that Middle East of part. But unfortunately, Russia showed them flames. Go and look at their TVs. Their TV that was busy doing their propagandas, making Russia look like a bad person and them they are good people and everything. Today they've changed the language. Today they are busy showing on how Ukraine ran out of weapons. Fighting tools, they don't have it. They don't have drones. Gun machines, they don't have it anymore. Bombs, they don't have it anymore. Soldiers, they are now finished. Ukraine, they are busy recruiting now soldiers even in the hospital. You went in the hospital, you are having some headache. The next things, they recruit you there by force. They say that you need to go and fight for your country. Children under age now, they are in the Ukraine militaries. And all this because NATO nation, US, they have induct or conduct Ukraine in a big era. Ukraine believe in them. Today now they are busy running away because they don't have money to give Ukraine anymore. And now all these things that happen, the worst is happening now in the Middle East. And yet, the same people who are supposed to come, for example, and say that, no, we are here supporting people of Palestine. They went the other side of Israel. They're supporting Israel, and Israel is committing serious crime. So the ICC could not have the courage to come and say that, no, Israel, you have committed enough crime. This is a genocide. You will have to pay people of Palestine. You will have to stop this. You will have to do that. Because the day they'll decide to do that, or the day they'll decide to say so, that also will immediately or directly implement the US, because the US, they are like the godfather to what is happening right now in Palestine. So guys, now you understand the reasons why South Africa will have to leave the ICC and the AU, because these people, they are hypocrites. I gave an example of the AU because this is a platform supposed to be for Africans. A platform supposed to be full of Pan-Africans, whereby we speak one language, whereby we speak one mind, whereby we have one idea in whatsoever we do. But these organizations, this African Union, is already being controlled by the Western power from far. On which way? Because these Western powers, they come in Africa continent, they buy a lot of African leaders, they make them become puppet president. They are at the service of the Western countries. They come in, they give them money. If your economy try to go down, or maybe you're having some problem of unemployment, they'll come up with too much excuses, and they do all these things so that you as the president, you must feel that you owe them something in return. You must feel that you can't go against them because whatsoever you are having, or whatsoever it has increased a bit of your economy, it is something which came from them. So they are controlling them, and I demonstrate to you with the fact on what Naledi Pandor had said and what Busisiwe Mqwebane she have said as well, because she worked in African organizations and she know very well that most of African leaders are puppets. And that is something we need to fight. So it had now discouraged South Africa to the point of Naledi Pandor saying that we don't see ourselves gathering here again in the African Union because you guys are not supportive. How could you promise me to give me your vote, and the next things, when it's they announce the result, I'm only having 3 countries who support me. Where's the rest? So is all these African countries saying that whatsoever is happening over there, it is something that needs to be approved? No, of course they know that it's something bad. But just because they don't want the US to see that, oh, Mauritania, they vote against us. Oh, Ivory Coast, okay. So they vote against us, we're going to sanction them. Because that's how they are. They use their tools to sanctions. And you don't want to get sanctions. Because all of you in your mind, you keep on thinking that no, if the US sanction us, we'll end up becoming like a Zimbabwe. Dude, what kind of idea, what kind of thinking is that? Because this is something I've come across with. Yes, instead of we condemning something against the US or any other NATO countries, you have been saying that no, we don't want any problem because we'll become like Zimbabwe. Are you telling me that people of Zimbabwe are not surviving? Since they've been received these so-called sanctions that which was imposed by to them by the US, are you gonna tell me that Zimbabweans are not surviving? Zimbabweans are not giving birth? Zimbabweans are not going to school? So these are the kind of things that Africa will not gonna go anywhere, because normally, the moment when these people sanction Zimbabwe, Africa was supposed to come forward and speak one word to threaten them back again, saying that no, if you guys don't relieve the sanctions which are imposed on Zimbabweans, then you have to deal with 1, 2, 3, 4. All the African countries, they speak one language. Do you think that these people are gonna have the courage to continue sanctions Zimbabwe? Okay, let's assume like no, they say okay fine, they want to challenge our decision as Africans, and they go ahead and continue imposing their sanction on Zimbabwe. And the next things, South Africa closed their coal mining. DR Congo, they close their gold. Botswana, they take their diamond. They say we're not gonna sell it to the US. Ivory Coast, they keep all their whatever they have there as a minerals. Do you think that these people will be able to resist? Because we all know that these people, they're nothing without the African mineral. That's the truth. So now they're using us against each other, and we don't see it. So sometimes we don't need to go and sit in the African Union when we know that we're not going to come up with a proper solution to what we're supposed to be doing as one nation. So I believe that these are kind of good reasons that can motivate South Africa to let go of this. Yes, President Ramaphosa even said it. It's very pity to see people who are preaching democracy, yet they are not able to apply this democracy when it comes to other nations. These are the kind of things that need to be condemned by all means, regardless of who have done it or who's doing it. Need to be condemned. And that is the naked truth. Guys, thank you so much for taking your time to watch this video. Today we had prepared you the 4 reasons why South Africa will have to leave the AU and the ICC, because of the obvious reason that we just demonstrate to you. I believe you have also a lot to say about this. Feel free to drop us your comment in the comment section below, because we do have take time to see and read whatsoever you are writing to us. But if you have any topic that you would like us to discuss in our next video, well, feel free to at least send us the email at coolbuzznews@gmail.com. We'll have a look on it and we'll discuss more further. But if this is your first time to watch our videos, feel free to join us, a big family of a Cool Buzz TV, so that whenever we are live here again, you'll be able to hear from us. That will be all for now. For now, continue to be yourself, be good, be kind, have respect for everyone in order for you to be respected. May God bless you all. I'll see you again very soon in our next video. Ciao, ciao.